everyone so much for joining us today for our Saleslogix demonstration. I know that you're some MAS customers, and today we're going to take a look at Saleslogix and how it can work with MAS. So with that, let's go ahead and take a look at the agenda. What I'm first going to be going over is our company background for Best Software. I'll also be discussing the back end of the product, and more specifically, how you can customize and set security on the back end. From there, we'll be getting into the features and the functionality within the application. And then towards the end, I can discuss how your remote users would access the database through synchronization. We can also talk about alternatives to synchronization. So starting out with the company background, Best Software does offer leading business management products. And some of those include ACT, there's Peachtree, Abra, and of course the MAS products, MAS200, MAS200, and 500. We also offer services that give about 1.8 million of our small to mid-sized customers the insight for success throughout the entire life of their business. Our parent company, the Sage Group PLC, supports over 3.6 million customers worldwide and has revenue of over $1 billion, making it one of the top 10 software companies in the world. Now, both Saleslogix and ACT have provided sales professionals with the tools they need to be successful. With more than 6,000 customers worldwide, Saleslogix is the CRM leader in our market. According to the Gartner Group, Best Software has more market share in the SMB for CRM than any other vendor. We have received more than 12 industry standard awards during this past year, and some of those include leader status in the Gartner Magic Quadrant, also Aberdeen's Group Award for Top 10 CRM implementations, and we're the winner of the Real Market User's Choice Award. Now, in regards to the back end of the product, Saleslogix does sit on either a SQL or an Oracle database. In fact, let me go ahead and change your screen so you could see this. Let me try this again. Actually, folks, I'm sorry, bear with me while I try to demonstrate my screen. Actually, if I could just get some assistance from possibly Brian on the line on how to demonstrate the screen view. Or at least get some. Yeah, I'm sorry. I do apologize for everyone, but I have the application up. So, Brian, can you confirm if that's showing the account view?
No, all I'm seeing is a PowerPoint.
Okay, let me try this. Okay, we have it now, folks, so I do apologize for that. You should see the Saleslogix screen now. And, Brian, if you could confirm that, that would be wonderful.
I'm just seeing a green screen. Here it is.
Okay, perfect. So picking up where we left off, Saleslogix does reside on either SQL or Oracle, and we do give you two tools to manage the application on the back end. So one of those tools is called the Architect. It's what you can use to customize. So in this account screen, you can customize any of the fields that you see up top, any of the tabs that are down below, and also the menus and toolbars. So do keep that in mind as we go through the demonstration, because you can add more fields and tabs. You can take out what you don't need or just rename what's there. The Architect makes it easy because it is similar to using Visual Basic. Now, the other tool you're given is called the Workgroup Administrator, and you can use that to set field-level security. So for each user, you can determine whether they have read, read-write, or no access to any of the fields in the database. Your administrator can set up profiles. They could also set up teams and ownerships. So for each user, you could determine what contacts, accounts, opportunities, or even tickets they have access to view. Now with that, we'll go ahead and get into the features and the functionality. So we'll start off in this account screen. It's where you'll find Saleslogix is account centric. So you can have multiple companies within your database, and within each company, you can then manage the contacts. So for this company, Abbott Limited, there are about 5 contacts in the middle portion of the screen. To drill down to the contact level, you could either do a lookup or you could double click the one you want. So let's say we need more information for John Abbott. After clicking John's name, it takes us into his contact screen. So we now have his address as opposed to the company's. Also his phone numbers, direct line, and even his email. Now if you need to send an email out, you can click the button next to the address, and that would open up Outlook, Lotus Notes, or GroupWise. We do have advanced Outlook integration, which means when you go to send your email, you can also automatically record it in the Notes and History tab below. So there, you'll find a couple of emails that we've sent out. They've been time, date, and user stamped. And to the right, notice you can easily view the contents of each email. Now, the integration is true for incoming emails as well. So if we were to receive an email from John Abbott, we could go into the Outlook inbox and click a button there to record that incoming message into their Notes and History. Now, there are some other tabs in this screen. We do have an Activities tab, and it is tied into the calendar. Now, we do have just activities for this one contact, but there are 2 different types. Red activities would be past due, and then black activities are in the future. Saleslogix has right-click functionality, so by right-clicking under this tab, you could complete your activities. You could also edit them, delete them, and even schedule new ones. Anytime you do complete an activity, that is also recorded in Notes and History. So it's not only capturing emails, but also any phone calls, meetings, or to-dos. Now, the Associations tab is where you can associate contact to contact. So here, we have a brother relationship between Keith and John. Well, if I needed to get more information for Keith, then I could just double-click his name. It will take us into his contact screen. So it's a direct link. It's an easy way to maneuver between associated contacts. And then we also have literature requests, because some of you are probably sending out literature, like brochures, pricing packets, any type of collateral. So whatever your company is sending out, you can automate the process. By right-clicking here, you could schedule a request. So you can determine what it is you're sending out. You could determine when it would be sent and, of course, how it's being sent. Once you've filled in this information, you are done on your end, because now it will go into a literature fulfillment screen. And so this is what the shipping department would see. Or you may have a mailroom. It's just giving them an idea of what they need to send out. If your sales reps are interested in sending electronic mail, then they can use the right menu up top. And there, they can create templates. And then they can use those templates to send letters, emails, and faxes. They could also mail merge. So instead of sending it to just one person, they could send it to an entire group. So the question becomes, how do you create those groups in Saleslogix? Well, what we'll do is click on the button in the toolbar that looks like a spreadsheet. And this will give us our contact groups. Across the top, we do have some examples, like Do Not Solicit. We have a Golf Buddies group and New York Prospects. Well, to create your own groups, you can right-click and you would add a group. This will bring up a tool called the Query Builder. Now, you can use this tool to query on any table or field in the database. So to the left-hand side, we have all the tables, and then to the right are the fields within each table. Now, let's say we want a group of all of our contacts in the city of Phoenix. Well, first we can select the address table, and then to the right, we would have the city field. So now we can apply a condition to the field. If I double-click on city, I can say that it's equal to, and then just browse for Phoenix. So it's fairly easy to build these groups. In fact, you could apply rules and conditions to as many fields as you'd like. In other words, you might want all those contacts in Phoenix who had purchased a specific product in maybe the past 30 days. Now, we can also go back to the account screen, because one thing I want to point out back here at this account view is how MAS would tie into Saleslogix. And what you would see would be some additional tabs in the bottom half of the screen. We don't have them now because we don't have the integration set up for one particular product. But what you can do is customize and determine what type of information you need your sales reps to see. So they may need access to invoices for these accounts. They may need to see credit limits, account balances, aging, or payment histories. And they also may need to create orders, quotes, or proposals. So to do that, they would have an additional icon in that toolbar above. And when they click that, it could launch that quoting module so they can start typing in their information. And not only does it get logged in the Orders tab below, but it would also go over to that MAS application as well. So it is a very tight integration between the two applications, and it is bidirectional. Now with that, we'll also be taking a look at the calendar. So what you'll see up top is not just a daily view, but there is also weekly, monthly, and yearly views. Now for this daily view, we do have some timeless activities to the left, and then to the right-hand side are all of our scheduled activities. Now I know this appears to be fairly busy and also colorful. Well, the reason for that is it's a shared calendar. So each of those colors are representing different people that we can view. If you look in the upper right-hand corner, we have 13 users we're viewing. And if I click that, it shows us who they are and the colors associated. Now, for the most part, you're probably interested in just looking at your activities. So if that's the case, then you could click Remove All. But there might be other times when you would like to see someone else in your department or your company. So you can click the Add button to the right. And then you could just pick from a list as to who you'd like to see. This list here can be different for everyone, and that's because using the Workgroup Administrator tool on the back end, you can set security. So you can determine who has access to who within this calendar. We talked a little bit about the advanced Outlook integration for email. Well, we also have that integration for the calendar. So anytime you schedule an activity in Saleslogix, you're going to see the same activity over in Outlook, and vice versa. Scheduling it on the Outlook side would also appear scheduled on the Saleslogix side. So the two are seamlessly integrated. They do synchronize silently in the background. And we've also integrated with Lotus Notes, with GroupWise, anything that is IMAP or POP3, using tools like IntelliSync or MailLogix. Now, if you prefer to see more of a line item to-do list as opposed to this visual calendar, then we can go into activities. Because these are going to be the same activities that are in the calendar, only now you can sort them. You could sort them based on the date and time, based on who they're with, what they're regarding, or even prioritize the activities. And then lined along the top, we do have different activity filters. So a telesales group could see just the phone calls they need to make that day, whereas you might want to see just the meetings you need to attend that week. And this is a shared calendar as well. You'll see that based on those different colors on the left-hand side. Now we'll also be taking a look at the library. This is just a document repository. It's an excellent place to store PowerPoint presentations. You might have policies, procedures, or pricing documentation. So again, just a good place for sales reps or that marketing team to go in and obtain those documents. And then we also have reports. In fact, Saleslogix comes with crystal reports, and you do get over 70 canned reports out of the box. So it is quite a few to get you started. You can also customize or create additional reports from scratch because you are given the Crystal Report Writer license. So if you are interested in the integration between MAS and Saleslogix, if you're bringing in the MAS information into the Saleslogix database, you can build reports on that as well. And what we'll take a look at next will be opportunities. So I've brought up an example for Abbott Limited. You'll find that it says Phase 2, and that's because we have multiple opportunities for this company. So it's how we keep track. The account manager is Lee Hogan, so he would be the sales rep that's working this deal. And then down from there is our estimated close date. We have the status of the opportunity and also the probability percent, which is set at 75. Now, what we found is that most companies out there, they prefer not to do forecasting based on just a gut feeling. That can be sometimes inconsistent. So what you can do instead is create sales processes for those sales reps to follow. In fact, down below we do have a process tab, and we are using the standard sales process as an example. Your company can create as many processes as you'd like. But for this example, we have about 5 stages below, and you'll see steps within each stage. So a sales rep can go through and just check off the activities as they complete them. Now, as they check those boxes, it will automatically increase the probability percent for the deal. So again, that percentage is not based on their gut feeling. It's going to be based on whatever activities they have completed. And now to the right-hand side, we can also look at that opportunity snapshot. This was created so that managers could easily scroll through multiple opportunities and just focus in on the information that's important to them. So for the value, it's showing us the sales potential. Well, that dollar amount is based on the Products tab below. This is where the sales reps can add any of the products or services they might be selling. And it can also tie into your MAS200, MAS200, or MAS500 application. So any inventory that's being affected would show on the MAS side. They can also make changes to the price, the quantity, or the discount just by clicking right there on the grid. So instead of 1,000 Pocket Pal 50s, maybe that company wants to double the order. Well, when I type in 2,000, notice it also changes the amount of the sales potential. Now, the weighted amount is based on the sales potential, only it's multiplied by the probability percent. So that the weighted amount is very important for forecasting purposes. And then the summary will tell you how many days the opportunity has been opened and also the amount of days since the last activity took place. All of the opportunities that are entered into your database, you can then view as a whole by going back to the list view. Now, you might remember earlier that we had groups of contacts. Well, in this case, we're looking at groups of opportunities. So across the top, there's different examples, like we have a closed lost group. There's also a one opportunity group. And you'll see open opportunities. So your sales reps can see what they need to work on. And they can sort these or filter them based on those columns. We could take a look at this based on probability percent. A sales rep might want to focus on the estimated close date, so they can work on those that are closest to closing. Or they could even sort based on dollar amount. Now, any group that you create in Saleslogix, you can export it to Excel just by clicking that Excel icon in the toolbar above. So we're going to go ahead and export this open opportunities group. You'll find that it places everything into the correct columns and that it also totals the amounts for us. One other thing that will happen is it will create a pivot table at the bottom of the page. So now we can easily manipulate that Saleslogix data. If I click on the pivot, you'll see it brings up those opportunities, but it shows just the sum of potential and the sum of weighted. Well, in addition to that, we might want to see what stages those opportunities are in. So we can go over to the field list and just click and drop stage into place. So now for each stage it shows the sum of potential and sum of weighted. You can also get a look at this based on a graph. It's just a matter of clicking the graph in the pivot table. You'll find that bar chart appear. Now next on our list we have marketing. So I'll go back to Saleslogix and click on the Campaign Manager. It's located at the very bottom of the navigation bar. And this will bring up just a couple of trade shows that we have as examples. Your company can create as many of these campaigns as you'd like, and you would do that by using the Add button to the right. And then, of course, you could edit and delete. What we're going to do is double-click on that New York City trade show because it brings up all of the details. So we have not just the name, but also a description. You can see it's a keynote seminar. It looks like it's gone out through a direct mailing, and the prospects have seen the campaign by way of email, as opposed to a commercial, a magazine, or billboard. The campaign code is set up so we can capture the responses, and then down from there is the objective. So it looks like I need to fill the seminar room. Well, I would do that by sending invitations to all of the New York prospects. Those New York prospects would be our target audience group. And if you look in the drop-down to the right, you'll find all the same groups that we had earlier, like the Do Not Solicit group or those golf buddies. So again, using the Query Builder, you can go out and target anyone in your database. Once you've selected the group, Saleslogix will let you know your potential amount of responses. It will track who has responded so far, and then Saleslogix will even calculate the actual results percentage. Now we can go back to the original screen because over to the right we have an Opportunities button. And this will give you a list of only opportunities that were generated by that one campaign. So that way you can see exactly how much money the campaign brought the company. You can sort these on status. It will show won opportunities compared to those that were lost, or even those that are still open. And you can get a list of responses as well. They're sortable based on the name alphabetically, based on response method, or even response date. And we're also going to be taking a look at the customer service portion. So what I'll do is bring up the ticket list view. This is most commonly used for customer service groups that are taking calls like questions, complaints, or issues that the customers have with products. So you do have the ability to create call tickets. We do have this list view so you can see all of the tickets in the database. And again, you can create different groups up top so a service rep could see just the tickets that they're working on. Or it may be like an urgent filter so they can see what to work on first. Now, if the service rep were to get an incoming call from the customer, the first thing they can do is go into the account screen. So they would do a lookup for that company. And then down below, they could click on the ticket tab so they could look to see if a ticket has already been opened for their issue. If it had, then they could use that existing ticket. But if they were calling in with a brand new issue, then the service rep could just right-click here and they would insert a new ticket. Now, it's just a matter of populating the fields in the ticket screen, but notice that a lot of those fields have already been populated, and that's based on defaults that can be set up. So you can determine your own defaults for the urgency or escalation of the ticket. You can determine the date and time the resolution is needed by, and also who the ticket is being assigned to. So it makes it easier for that service rep to fill in the remaining fields, such as area, category, and issue. Now, these three fields are hierarchical, and they're there to help the service reps pinpoint where that customer's problem is located. So we do have some examples here. We could say that it was a complaint, maybe with the shipping department, and it's a late delivery. Or maybe we sell hardware. So to the right, it brings up only hardware items. And then to the right of that, we have different issues for each item. Now, of course, you would have your own company's information to pick from. But again, this does make it easy for the service rep to pinpoint where that problem was located. So once they have that, they can type in a subject. They can fill in a description that the customer had given them. And then at that point, they could start searching for a resolution. To do that, they could click the search button over to the right. And what they'd be doing is searching through the knowledge base. So we'll just type in something miscellaneous for the keyword, and now we can click that search button to the right. You'll find that it brings up the results that were found. Now we do have scores or relevance for each of the results. There's 100%, 89, 88, and that way your service rep can choose the result that was a closest match. They can also preview these down below. But once they determine what they'd like to use, they could either insert the entire result or they could highlight just a portion of that. So I'll highlight just a paragraph and then click the insert button. You'll find that it has added that into the ticket, so now it's ready to get out to the customer. They could email this, they could fax it, print it, or just read it off if it's telephone support. So now that we've covered everything in the application, what I'd next like to discuss is how your remote users could access the database. One way would be through synchronization. And this works best for those that are traveling quite a bit. They may not always have access to a web connection. So if your sales reps need to work offline, then they can take a piece of the database on their laptops with them. And when they get back to the hotel or back to the office, they can then synchronize whatever changes they have made to that. Now, the synchronization can take place one of two ways. It's either through RAS dial-up via modem or through an FTP site. That's a file transfer protocol site, and it's through the web. Now, when they are synchronizing the database, keep in mind it is a bidirectional synchronization. So they're not just sending their data, they're also receiving any changes that everyone else had been making. And we do also have something called auto-sync, which means instead of having to click a button to start the sync cycle, the database will recognize the connection that they've established, and it will automatically start synchronizing for them. And they also do not have to leave the database while it updates. They can continue to work in Saleslogix while they're synchronizing. Now, we do have some alternatives to synchronization. Instead, you could put Saleslogix through Citrix. You may have a VPN or terminal services. Another alternative is that we offer ASP hosting. So, of course, you can have one of our partners host the application for you. You can pay just that per month per user fee. Another way of accessing the database remotely is through our web client. Now, the web client is a thin client. It is something that you would host with an IIS server, but it allows for real-time access anytime, anywhere. Now, the only difference between this and the web client is that the web client has a slightly different look and feel. It was written in a different language for the web. It was written in HTML and Java. So you do have a slightly different look and feel, but again, all the same features and all the same functionality. And then a final way of accessing the database remotely is through handheld devices. So if anyone in your company is using Palm, then they can synchronize to Saleslogix, either through Outlook or through IntelliSync. If people in your company are using either BlackBerry or Pocket PC, then as you can see, we do have a Saleslogix client that will reside on those devices. And they do have added functionality. As opposed to just being able to see contacts and activities, they can also work on the accounts. They can be creating opportunities and quotes. They can manage the products that are tied into MAS. And for support users, they could also access those tickets or create new ones. So with that, I do believe we've covered everything for sales, marketing, and customer service within Saleslogix. So I'd like to conclude the demonstration, but before I do want to open it up for any questions that I can answer for you.
At this time, I would like to remind everyone, if you would like to ask a question, please press star, then the number 1 on your telephone keypad. We'll pause for just a moment to compile the Q&A roster. You have a question from William Romer.
Sure.
Hi. We're kind of wondering if you have it in the demo or could just talk about how you recommend or how other people generate proposals and then final agreements out of this system, or is that something that goes through some of the MAS products or modules?
It actually, if you're not integrating the two, Saleslogix can do that on its own. If you remember, we had the right menu with mail merge. You can select a proposal template or a quote template, and you can actually select the opportunity. So that way, it ties in all the products that were or services that were being sold to that company. And it's basically the line items, and it includes that in the proposal. If you're integrating MAS, then you're going to use the same, quoting module, only they're accessing it in Saleslogix, and it would also be recording that in Saleslogix as well, so that it can be viewed on both sides.
Okay.
Now, I know that a lot of you might be interested in actually seeing the integration between the two applications, and because a lot of you are using different types of MAS products, what you'll want to do is go back to your business partner because they are going to be able to demonstrate that type of integration. There's a couple of different ways you can handle that on the back end, so that's why it's important to go to them specifically. But hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. And any other questions that I can answer?
Once again, to ask a question, please press star 1 on your telephone keypad. You have a question from Erin McLaughlin.
Hi, my question is about the library document management. What kind of? I noticed that there's a tree view, but is there any kind of search capability, like keyword search?
There is. Let me do this. Let me go ahead and bring back the application so that you can see with speed search, which is what we looked at for the support side. If we click advanced, you can actually search. One of the items that makes up the knowledge base is the library. So yeah, you can do a keyword search and look strictly through the library as opposed to everything else.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You do have a question from Trent Graham.
Just had a question regarding the library. Is that also synchronized when you do the remote, when you access it remotely? Is it also synchronized?
It is. When they're taking a piece of the database and it's running MSDE on their laptops. So it's kind of like a mini, database that they have. It's generally just the accounts, contacts, opportunities, or tickets that they need access to. What they can do is subscribe. We have a subscription-based synchronization. So if they go into the library and they find that they need that presentation, what they can do is subscribe to it and then run their sync cycle. So that way it would be on their laptop.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Any other questions?
You have a question from Keith Adams.
Yeah, I was just curious, and I may have missed this, but is there a way to restrict which representatives would be able to see which accounts?
Yes. We talked very briefly in the beginning about the Workgroup Administrator tool, and that is the tool that you can use to set security. What I mentioned is that it's field-level security, and it's also allowing you to set up teams and groups. Now, what I mean by that is, let's say you have a sales organization, you have a whole department, and each sales rep is focused on maybe one territory. What you can do is, security-wise, assign them just to that territory, so they are the owners of those accounts. And what they could also do is have team access to other accounts that other sales reps are owning, but you might want to determine what type of access. So if they have, just read access where they can't make changes to that, or no access at all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no further questions at this time.
Okay, well, I will go ahead and put up the Q&A slide once again because there are some phone numbers there for you to call. Anyone using MAS200 or MAS200, if you're looking for more information afterwards, there is that 866 number.